Pakistan's army chief, General Asim Munir, recently made a statement that sent ripples through South Asia and beyond. In very clear words, he said that Pakistan's nuclear weapons could be used if the country's existence was threatened. For any leader, this kind of talk is serious, but when it comes from the head of Pakistan's army, it carries even more weight because in Pakistan, the military is not just another branch of government. It is the most powerful institution in the country, often more influential than elected leaders. When the army chief speaks, it is not just his personal opinion. It is taken as a calculated message to multiple audiences, allies, rivals, and his own people. To understand why this statement matters, we have to look at the situation inside Pakistan today. The country is in one of the worst economic crises in its history. Prices of basic goods like wheat, rice, and cooking oil have skyrocketed. Electricity bills are unaffordable for many households. Fuel prices keep rising. Foreign currency reserves are dangerously low, at times enough to cover only a few weeks of imports. For a country that relies heavily on imported fuel, machinery, and even food items, this is a dangerous position to be in. In the past, friendly countries like Saudi Arabia and the UAE would send financial aid without too many conditions. Now even they are asking for proof of reforms before offering help. The political scene is no better. The last few years have seen constant clashes between the military establishment and political leaders. Former Prime Minister Imran Khan's removal sparked months of protests and tensions. Social media is full of criticism against the army, something that would have been unthinkable a decade ago. Ordinary citizens are frustrated, and there is a feeling that the country is losing direction. In such an atmosphere, leaders often turn to nationalist themes, talking tough against foreign rivals to unite the public. A nuclear threat serves this purpose perfectly. It makes the leader look strong even if the problems at home remain unsolved. Pakistan's nuclear strategy has always been different from India's. Since 1998, when Pakistan conducted its nuclear tests in Chagai, in response to India's Pokhran II tests, it has refused to adopt a no first use policy. India clearly states it will never be the first to use nuclear weapons, but Pakistan keeps its position ambiguous. The idea is to keep the enemy guessing. If Pakistan feels threatened even by a conventional attack, it claims it could use nuclear weapons first. This uncertainty is meant to deter India from taking military action. Over the years, Pakistan has turned this into a political tool, using nuclear rhetoric to discourage India from responding to cross-border terrorism or military provocations. General Asim Munir's latest remarks were likely aimed at three audiences. The first was India, to remind New Delhi that despite Pakistan's economic collapse, its nuclear arsenal is still operational. The second was the United States, where Pakistan's influence has dropped sharply since the end of the War on Terror. In the 2000s, Pakistan was a frontline ally for America in Afghanistan. Billions of dollars in aid flowed in, and Pakistan's voice carried weight in Washington. Today, the U.S. is focused on countering China, and India is seen as the key partner in that strategy. Pakistan no longer holds the same position. Munir's words could be an attempt to remind the U.S. that ignoring Pakistan could have dangerous consequences. The third audience was the Pakistani public. In times of economic despair, talk of national strength and powerful weapons can boost nationalist pride and shift attention away from domestic failures. But nuclear threats are not harmless words. They are like playing with matches in a room filled with petrol. One misunderstanding or one chain of events could escalate beyond anyone's control, and history shows that India and Pakistan have come dangerously close to that point before. To see the full picture, we have to look back at how Pakistan's nuclear policy developed. The story begins in 1971, when Pakistan lost East Pakistan, which became Bangladesh. This was a crushing military and political defeat. Prime Minister Zulfikar Ali Bhutto famously declared that Pakistan would build a nuclear bomb, even if it meant eating grass to afford it. The motivation was clear. Pakistan wanted a weapon that would ensure it could never be defeated so completely again. When India conducted its first nuclear tests in 1974, known as Smiling Buddha, Pakistan accelerated its program with secret help from various sources, including technology smuggling networks built by A.Q. Khan. By the late 1980s, Pakistan was believed to have the capability to build nuclear weapons, even though it had not tested them. In 1998, after India carried out a new series of nuclear tests, Pakistan responded within weeks, conducting its own tests in Chagai. Overnight, Pakistan became the seventh declared nuclear power in the world. Since then, nuclear threats have been part of Pakistan's political and military language. During the 1999 Kargil War, when Pakistani troops and militants occupied positions in Indian territory, there were hints from Pakistani leaders about possible nuclear escalation to deter India from launching a full-scale war. The 2001-2002 standoff after the attack on the Indian parliament saw similar threats. In more recent times, after the 2016 Uri attack and the 2019 Pulwama attack, Pakistani officials again spoke about nuclear options, warning India against large-scale retaliation. Pakistan has also developed tactical nuclear weapons, smaller, battlefield-level nukes intended to stop India's conventional military advances. These weapons lower the threshold for nuclear use, making any conflict more dangerous because the jump from conventional to nuclear warfare could happen quickly. However, the more often Pakistan uses nuclear threats, the less seriously the world takes them. It becomes like the boy who cried wolf. If the world starts to believe that Pakistan is just using this language for political theater, there's a risk that in a real crisis, global powers might not react fast enough, assuming it's just another bluff. For India, the smartest response to such rhetoric has been to remain calm and avoid getting dragged into public exchanges of threats. By focusing on economic growth, building diplomatic partnerships, and presenting itself as a responsible power, India strengthens its global position. When Pakistan talks about nukes and India talks about trade, investment, and stability, the contrast benefits India's image internationally. The truth is, nuclear weapons cannot fix Pakistan's real problems. They cannot reduce inflation. They cannot create jobs. They cannot heal political divisions or stop corruption. They can only deter a foreign attack. But right now, the biggest threat to Pakistan's survival is not India. It is the internal collapse caused by bad governance, economic mismanagement, and political instability. Asim Munir's statement may have been meant to project power, but in reality, it highlights the weakness of a state that feels it must remind the world of its nuclear capability to stay relevant. In a region as tense as South Asia, where two nuclear-armed neighbors have fought multiple wars, this is a dangerous game. For over 2 decades, the world has managed to avoid a nuclear war here. But all it takes is one miscalculation, one wrong interpretation of the other side's actions, to push things past the point of no return. Nuclear weapons are not political tools for everyday speeches. They are the last line between national survival and total destruction. Using them as a talking point to distract from domestic failures is short-sighted and reckless. When economic collapse, political chaos, and nuclear arms exist in the same place, the danger is not just for that country, it is for the entire world. And right now, Pakistan is walking that very dangerous path.